The second half of the 19th century, it was one of the most difficult periods in the history of the Ottoman Empire. The once mighty empire, which had stretched across 3 continents, was now facing increasing pressure from powerful foreign states. The political situation in Europe was changing rapidly, while various political and nationalist movements were becoming stronger throughout the empire. It was during this difficult period, in 1876, that Abdulhamid II ascended to the Ottoman throne. He faced an extremely difficult task: to preserve the empire, to defend the political independence of the state, and to resist the growing pressure from foreign powers. From an early age, Abdulhamid II had shown a strong interest in government, politics, and international relations. But when he became sultan, he was no ordinary ruler. He had become the leader of a vast empire facing a deep and growing crisis. Yet his reign would go down in history not only as a period of political struggle, but also as an era of reforms and difficult decisions.
Soon after Abdulhamid II ascended to the throne, the empire faced another major political challenge. In 1877, war broke out with Russia. The conflict had serious consequences for the Ottoman Empire. Russian forces advanced toward the Balkan territories of the empire. The political situation following the war also allowed European powers to increase their involvement in Ottoman affairs. Abdulhamid II attempted to find a new political path to preserve the state. He strengthened central authority. He increased control over the administration. He also sought to create stronger connections between the different regions of the empire. In his view, a weak central government could accelerate the fragmentation of the empire. Therefore, Abdulhamid II considered preserving the unity of the state to be one of his most important goals. However, this policy also created different opinions about his rule. Some regarded him as a strong ruler who had tried to preserve the empire. Others criticized his style of government as excessively strict.
However, it would be incorrect to describe the era of Abdulhamid II only through political struggles. During his reign, considerable attention was also given to education and the modernization of the state. New schools were established. Military and civilian educational institutions were expanded. A new generation of educated specialists began to be trained for government service. The construction of railways also became an important priority. Railway networks helped connect distant regions of the empire with the central government. The Baghdad Railway Project became one of the most famous projects associated with the reign of Abdulhamid II. Communication systems also developed. The expansion of telegraph networks made it possible to send messages more quickly from Istanbul to distant parts of the empire. Printing, newspapers, and publishing also continued to develop. Thus, the Ottoman Empire at the end of the 19th century was experiencing both crisis and modernization at the same time. This became one of the most complicated aspects of Abdulhamid II's rule.
By the end of the 19th century, the international situation surrounding the Ottoman Empire had become even more complicated. Russia, Britain, France, Germany, and other European powers had a strong interest in the future of the empire. Each of these states sought to protect its own political and economic interests. Abdulhamid II attempted to use the rivalry between these powers to his advantage.
He considered diplomacy to be one of the most important tools for preserving the empire. The strengthening of relations with Germany also took place during this period. Istanbul was increasingly becoming an important center of international politics. However, political conflicts within the empire continued to grow. Questions concerning the constitution, parliament, and the system of government became major subjects of debate. The Young Turk movement became increasingly influential. Its supporters demanded a new political system and greater constitutional government. Thus, the reign of Abdulhamid II continued between growing foreign pressure and internal political conflict. The future of the empire was becoming increasingly uncertain.
In 1908, the Ottoman Empire entered a new turning point. The Young Turk movement grew stronger, and demands for constitutional government returned to the center of political life. Abdulhamid II was forced to restore the constitution. But the political situation soon became even more tense. In 1909, Abdulhamid II was removed from the throne. His reign had come to an end. Yet the name of Abdulhamid II would remain a subject of debate throughout Ottoman history. His supporters viewed him as a ruler who had delayed the fragmentation of the empire for as long as possible. His critics remembered his centralized and authoritarian style of government. But historical figures cannot always be understood through a single perspective. During Abdulhamid II's reign, the Ottoman Empire experienced territorial losses, international pressure, internal political struggles, and modernization all at the same time. During his rule, schools, railways, communication networks, and state institutions continued to develop. At the same time, the empire's political problems became increasingly deeper. Abdulhamid II died in 1918, but his reign